This is an incredible opportunity. This city is a special place in my heart. I was here years ago, and to see the city now has been an awesome trajectory of where it's going. Be able to come back and help this team grow and develop and reach its potential is important to me. We're going to be a team that really embodies this city, eager to keep going and figure out how great we can be. Let's get to work on it. Let's make our city proud.
Tell me about the Pistons so far.
Man, this is chicken wine. Yeah, the Pistons are playing so great defense.
Let's go.
They're going to win more than 14 games this year, I promise you. They're going to double it, I'm telling you.
Let's go.
Go Pistons, go Lions, go Red Wings, go Tigers.
What up, though, people? Thank you guys for choosing to kick off your day with the Woo Crew. It's Wake Up Woodward, man. It's your boy Brandon Dent, a.k.a. Detroit Kool-Aid, your credentialed Pistons reporter and writer for the network. That right there is Flannel Sam, the vet of the squad, the vet of the network.
Yes.
He's still holding on to Sir Paul over there for
yes.
at least a little bit longer, huh?
And we're going to be hanging on
Flannel
to Sir
Sam.
Paul coming this Sunday.
Talk
about it.
I'll just say that.
Tell him, Sam.
Wear loud and proud.
Talk that shit, Sam.
Absolutely.
Go, Blue.
Absolutely. But
I don't know about that.
I'll tell you what. I'm not going to get into it just yet, but just a little preview. There is something about last night's game that really, really grinds my gears. I'll just say that. Really grinds my gears.
Really grinds
I know
your
it's
gears.
one game, but I think when I say what it is, people are going to agree, and I'm not being too harsh because there were a lot of good things, but one thing just...
A lot of good things, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there was a lot to like. We definitely going to talk about it, but we don't want to see the L's anymore. But it is just game one, as always, man. Take a little bit of time to digest. Give it about 10, 15 games, but we can start to see some trends and see how they respond and react to the things that they're seeing on film. But let's get the rest of the cast and the crew introduced. First and foremost, you chat family. You guys are, as always, are the most important part of the entire Woo Crew production. Let's go ahead and run those lights up already from the start of the show. Flannel, you want to tell them what we're talking about before we get everybody else introduced?
Absolutely. We're going to go over last night's Pistons game because it was the home opener. All of us were in the house. A bunch of us from Woodward Sports were in the house, and I think it's appropriate. It didn't finish the way that we'd like, but I think there's a lot of storylines that are coming out of it. We're also going to talk about the now fluctuating Jamison Williams situation. Is he suspended? Is he not? We will see. And you know what? At the beginning of the week, there was a lot of Jared Goff for MVP talk, not just here nationally. I want to revisit that. And I also want to open up a discussion of a certain other player on the other side of the ball that might be up for defense's most prestigious award. More on that later.
More on that later. Shout out to that dude, Justin, our brother Matthew Broder, who stepped out with us last night the game.
Hey.
Shout out, Broder.
Shout out, Broder, man. Intern Chase. What up, though, man? I love the hat.
Hey, what up, though? How's it going? Good morning, everybody. How you guys doing today?
That's a man that's working hard right now. Shout out to Mr. Chase Hamley. Hey, I think just a few more days, man. November 1st, we might be dropping that intern title. So, chat family, we're going to have to come up with some type of nickname for Intern Chase. We got to do this man some justice, right?
Hey, come up with something, man. I mean, I've never really had a nickname before, so.
Oh,
Never?
snap.
Yeah.
Chat family, don't let
hell
us down.
no.
Don't let us down. Flannel, I just saw maybe like 20 nickname possibilities just flash through this guy's head. Whoa, I don't know what I'm hearing right now. Okay, there we go. In the sound booth, Detroit's #1 draft pick, that is KG, a.k.a. Black Hollywood.
What up? New Mike, who this, man?
Hey.
Hey, man, but shout out to everybody that came out last night. That Pistons game absolutely fired. The energy in the city around this team, it seems like they're starting to come back to the Pistons, and you love to see that, man. A lot of people in the house last night, from streamers to regular Detroit sports media. It was an experience, man, and I'm really happy with a lot of the things that I saw. Of course, there are some things to clean up, but hey, man, I'm really rocking with what this Pistons team is going to bring this year, and I really am more confident in that 30-plus wins now more than ever. So,
yeah, definitely. And you know what? I do got some audio or some video. I'm going to throw it over to you, JB, in a little bit so we can hear what JB Bickerstaff also has to say about managing or setting the expectations for a young team that wants to win, but they didn't. And it's early in the season. Whether they won or whether they lost, I really wanted to ask him that question. because if they won, I would have come up here and said, hey, let's celebrate the victory Thursday, but it's still just one game. We've seen them do this 3 seasons in a row in which they won 17 and then 14 games.
Yeah.
So this one is one that I'm like, you know what? Maybe this is a better omen, but we're going to talk a lot more about it. Woodward Sports' MVP in the TD booth. Wearing green.
Boo.
Get that out of here, man. That's JB Smart,
Guard.
and it was a home opener for the Detroit Pistons as well. And like KG said, the environment was epic. There's a level of optimism surrounding the team due to just, I think, a lot of things that we saw to start the game. Already, this is a team that is better defensively than they were last year, though they still have some glaring weaknesses on the defensive end. Miles Turner got busy last night, man. But just to kind of give you the quick stats before we get around and share a little bit of these experiences. Cade Cunningham went off last night, 28 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds. Had a little bit of a slow start, what people say offensively, but he did have 7 assists at the half. That is in lockstep with who Cade has continued to show to be. Jaden Ivey, 17 points, 4 assists, 5 rebounds. I don't think that backcourt is going to have any time or have any issues this season. And the issue for me, and I know there's going to be a lot that we parse here, Tobias Harris, Tim Hardaway, Malik Beasley. All 3 of the vets, what we saw in the first half is exactly what you want to bottle up for your Detroit Pistons. And those vets contributed because they were the leading scorers at the halftime.
Yeah.
But then in the second half and in the crunch time, where these are the players that are supposed to be your steadying hands, well, we'll talk a little bit more about it. They weren't anywhere to be found during that time.
There was a point in the game where I was hoping that the story of today was going to be about the new veterans, sharpshooters. And in the first half, it was looking like that. And I'm not denigrating them or anything. I think for the most part, especially in the first half, they did their job. But when you can't close it out, there's obviously some stuff we have to talk about that isn't so kind. And as I said, there is one thing that really upset me.
Talk to me.
Later.
Ooh.
In the
Gotta hear this.
What?
Yes.
No. Yeah, tease it.
In the 8:15.
You know the people love a tease.
In the 8:15 segment, I'm going to start off with that. But here's some good news. The entire Wake Up Woodward crew, including Matt Broder, was at the game last night. Every single one of us. It was great seeing him. There's the picture we took. It's funny because at that point, Broder had already left. But as you can see, we got Chris Platty, we got Chase, we got Anson, we got myself, we got KG, we've got JB, and we've got Travis in socials.
Yeah. I got word that Easy was in the building as well.
He was, and so was Maz, I believe. I thought D-Mac was as well.
Yeah, he was.
Man,
he was.
So we were all there. It was very much like an event. And of course, man, who do we have to thank for that? This guy right here, Mr. Detroit Kool-Aid, Brandon Dent. You got us.
I appreciate you guys.
Hey, you got us all hooked up with those tickets, and it was just a fun night. Couldn't have done it without you, man.
No, look, bro, I appreciate you guys. Everything that you guys have done to support me for not just this show, but for multiple years. And being good people. And honestly, knowing that Detroit Pistons basketball, how much it matters to you all, and how much Woodward Sports matters. It's an easy thing to be able to support this squad right here. So trust me, man. For me personally, you guys know my beliefs. I'm a steward. It's my job to make sure I'm giving on behalf of who I serve. So I appreciate you all greatly, and I'm glad that we just had a good time. There's going to be many more.
Oh yeah,
there's going to be many more.
It was just, it's always nice to have those. I don't want to say it's a team building activity, but it was a lot of fun seeing everybody. A lot of fun seeing Broder again. I don't get to see,
because I didn't get to see everybody else. But you know who I did get to see? My guy Flannel Sam.
Of course,
right in the door. It was like I saw him, and I was like, I was trying to rush off to media.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? No. I was like, Sam. I was yelling his name at the top of my lungs, bro. Like we were in a movie, and like there was a chick.
A romantic novel.
I was like, Sam, and I saw his head go.
Dun, 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 dun,
and I was like, Sam. And as soon as he turned around, we just for a minute was like.
Hey,
it was like, let's go, man. Let's go. And it was just cool, man, to see you there. We went to say what up to our guy, DJ, High Def Steph as well. He was putting it down. And that's kind of how the day got kicked off, or at least that game. And it was cool. I'm glad you guys all got linked up and had a great time, man, for real.
Yeah, it was dope, man.
Oh, yeah. And of course, at events like this, like, for example, Chris Platty is one of my favorite people here, but I never see him because we have such different schedules. So it was good to see him last night as well. Travis, he, of course, lives in Toledo, so I don't really get to see him much.
And
but
he does
was
a
out
lot
there,
of good work on the socials.
A lot of good work on the
Yeah,
socials.
big shout out to Trav,
A lot
man.
of good work. So it was just great seeing everybody. And the environment, I mean, people seem pretty optimistic.
Yeah.
It definitely does have a different feel. And right when I walked in, just as DJ High Def Steph had promised, music just not blaring, the perfect volume to enjoy the just the ambiance of Little Caesars Arena going into the home opener. It was definitely filled with a lot of hope, and I hope, no pun intended, that continues.
Also, kind of why I'm bullish about this thing. I don't believe that the vets disappear, all of them, down the stretch again or in the fourth quarter. I just don't believe that. But hey, Chase, you were in the building last night, man. How was it?
It was a really good time. Thank you again for being included in the opportunity to go. Very fun time. I had obviously first game of the year. I hadn't been to a season opening event. It's only like my third, I think, game seeing the Pistons play at LCA.
Seriously?
Yeah, and I only got to see him play twice ever at the Palace. I think the last time I saw him play at the Palace was against the Pacers.
We're getting a lot more games than that this year.
So-
I'm letting you know that.
Oh yeah, big
Sure,
fact.
that'd be awesome, man. It was a really fun time getting to hang out. Like, obviously, we get to see each other every day in the studio, getting to see each other outside of work too, and getting to hang out was a fun time.
Yeah.
Seeing some of the other people, like Travis, and getting to spend time with them as well. I liked what I saw out of the team as well. I mean, obviously we didn't get the win, but they seem to be playing a lot tougher, a lot harder. And I mean, they're still really young. Let's give these coaches, a little bit more time to see if we can hone it in and eventually close out some of these close games.
Phil, I am here, bro. I'm here. I'm all Wake Up Woodward.
Yeah.
I'm all Woodward Sports. Trust that. I trust that.
That was Anson's first game in a while too, man. Yeah. He said in almost 20 plus years, like he hadn't been there since the Good Palace days, man. So yeah, man, he didn't even know where to go when he got in there, man.
Last year we were trying to get him in there, and at the last minute, there were some tickets, but they weren't with the crew, and he was just like, I would rather be with the guys. So this year he was with the fellas, and that's awesome. That's what I'm talking about. Like people who haven't really been able to be within that Pistons culture, though they're fans, to be able to have these types of moments. We're going to continue to spur that and continue. Hopefully in the future, I'm not as busy. Opening night is crazy.
Yeah.
And then we'll be able to definitely link up and get that content in. But JB Smooth, man, how was the night before we get into this next segment and actually break down the game?
Oh, man, the night was really good. One thing that caught my eye just walking up to LCA is the simple fact that I seen all these fans still out there, still supporting the Pistons, no matter what you've seen in previous seasons before with Monty and everyone like that. But just the support that you got from them coming out on opening night. I know it might have been a little bit for the giveaways as well, too, but I think for the majority of it, it was just the simple fact that basketball is back and the Pistons are back here once again. And just getting inside, you could see and feel the warmth and pride that everyone has for this team still. I know we didn't get the win last night. I know my bet also was this close to cashing as well, too, with the Pistons 5.5. So close, but I still see a lot of good things out of this team. A lot of promise from this team right now. And even more so, just giving JB Bickerstaff some damn credit, because last season is complete 180. Because last season I seen Monty just sitting there, arms folded on the bench, not doing anything. JB Bickerstaff from the first tip-off is upstanding, just walking, pacing back and forth, communicating with his guys that I love so much that you did not get to see last season. So shout out to him, just encouraging all the players out there on the floor.
And I hear y'all talking about this game like that's what y'all were really focused on last night.
I mean,
shout
if you
out to
ask the
Hardy
cameraman,
boys and Joe Hendry, bro,
I
in
believe.
the building. And I don't know what y'all are doing. Shout out to our elite booth boys. I hear you. I believe, Chase. Shout out to you guys. But they're like interacting with all the content. They're sharing like bro, look, sitting at it, looking at socials. I'm like, this is beautiful.
Yeah, man.
First people I thought about was you guys and D-Mac, because Joe Hendry, he collabed with us on some stuff. The Hardy boys already started to retweet the content. So thank you to you guys for the relationships that you're putting in there. No,
it's been awesome, man. And shout out to TNA. They've been absolutely awesome with this collaboration that we're doing this week to help promote Bound for Glory this Saturday at Wayne State Fieldhouse. But it was dope seeing them in the building, man. Joe Hendry getting around, man. And so is the Hardys. They had flight issues, but they finally made it into town. And we look forward to having them on Big D Energy hopefully tomorrow. So, yeah, man, stay tuned for that. But shout out to them, man.
Shout out to them. Hey, you know what? I want to get into these takeaways. Flannel already teased it. I want to break it down. I love basketball. I want to break this thing down. And I'm with a crew of people who like basketball too. So let's get into this thing, and then we got a lot more Lions on the way. Let's rock.
Yes, absolutely. But first, I got to tell you about Planet Fitness. Fitness that fits your budget. No matter where you are, there's a Planet Fitness close by. There are more than 50 in Metro Detroit.
She a Sparty divorcer.
Hey, there will be none of that.
What up, though, people? Welcome back to Wake Up Woodward. Hoping you guys have had a great start to your morning, and I hope that Wake Up Woodward has been some small part of that. I know that you guys are already energizing us, and you got me fired up. Detroit Pistons for at least 3.5 quarters had me really fired up as well. You can see the improvements already. So the vibes, the energy, the hustle, the diving on the floor, Malik Beasley yapping in people's face, Ron Holland getting scrappy, Isaiah Stewart just all night, like chipping people, bumping people. But when it got down to the thick of it, the experience of Indiana Pacers and their coaching, JB Bickerstaff tipped his hat to the coaching as well. They made some unique adjustments, and they were able to stifle what the Detroit Pistons were doing both defensively and offensively, because for a large part of that game, the Pistons defense was holding the Indiana Pacers and Tyrese Halliburton in absolute check.
I was about
except
to say,
for Turner.
there was a big portion of the game, particularly the first half, where the Pistons defense, I think you couldn't have asked anything more out of them.
Yeah, they held them under
Yes.
50 points in the first half.
I mean, what more can you do? The second half, not quite the same, but let's get to my takeaway of what really, really upset me about last night's game. And when I tell you, it's going to be very on brand for old Flannel Sam, but I don't give a damn. How many times have we watched Cade Cunningham put up a stat line like 28, 5, and 8 on decent efficiency, not the best, could have been better, but still good enough, be the best player on the court, and walk out of the arena with an L? How many times have we seen that?
A lot.
That's the one thing that makes me a little irritated about last night. And don't get me wrong, there were some things that I liked. You mentioned the veterans in the first half. You mentioned the defense in the first half. Those were all well and good, don't get me wrong. But it was just another game where Cade Cunningham put up great numbers, played very, very well at stretches, had the best quarter of basketball I've ever seen him play, which was that third quarter, and the Pistons walk away with an L. And they were undone by some things that plagued them last year, like the Pistons were 27% from three last night. That was one thing that was disappointing, including a combined 3 of 12 from Tobias Harris and Malik Beasley.
1 of 6 from Tobias.
So for all good that they did, you know, those two didn't provide them the three-point shooting that we had hoped, although to his credit, Tim Hardaway Jr. did. And look at this. This is just another illustration of why last night made me so mad. That's Cade Cunningham's points, rebounds, and assists, and his shooting slash lines of field goal percentage, three-point percentage, and free throw percentage. Below that, as you can see, is Tyrese Halliburton's. Which point guard's team got the win? It was Tyrese Halliburton's.
Yep.
And that's what always just gets me so upset, because it just takes so many times we see Cade Cunningham play like this and then walk off with an L to no fault of his own. Don't get me wrong, Cade Cunningham did struggle in the first half with his shot, and even in the fourth quarter down the stretch with his shot. But as I said before, that third quarter, it wasn't just how he was scoring, he was taken over. We were seeing him do off the dribble poster dunks. We were seeing him post up. We were seeing him do double clutch layups after a spin move. We were seeing off the dribble threes. He was in his bag. It was unbelievable. And then in the first half, when he wasn't shooting very well, he was still facilitating. The first 2 threes of the game were Tim Hardaway threes assisted by Cade Cunningham. And then, of course, one of everybody's favorite plays, that lob to Duren. God, that was sexy. God, that third quarter was sexy from Cade Cunningham. But as I said, he went home with an L once again to no fault of his own. And that aspect irritates me. The game as a whole didn't irritate me, but that irritated me.
If you leave those stats up real quick, JB, do you guys know what those stats are saying to you, though, beyond just what the box score is?
What?
Because it's a strategy thing. And that's why JB Bickerstaff in the press conference tipped his cap to the other coach. We can look at the final stat line and say Cade absolutely worked Tyrese Halliburton, but who was the better player down the stretch? Who scored more points in the clutch time when it actually mattered? And when you looked at how they managed Tyrese Halliburton's minutes, these are things that, at least from because we were sitting with some scouts from other teams as well. When we look at the game, we look at how they're managing, and we're like, yo, Cade is showing out in the third quarter, but you know what we noticed? 11 minutes played. He's not going to be really what we want him to be in the fourth quarter, which means as a coach, J.B. Bickerstaff has to ask himself, if Cade is going, and this is first game of the season, when you get 20 games in, 30 games in, and you get your regular season legs underneath you, then you're probably more capable and more ready and have that stamina built up to be able to go that distance. But what I saw last night from Cade down the stretch was more or less dead legs, tired legs. And that's where if you're going to allow him to just play an entire third quarter and go off like that, because he was insane, then that means that the rest of the team, including guys like Jaden Ivey and those vets, they have to be prepared to pick up all of the slack. And that's where J.B. Bickerstaff has to be able to better manage, okay, if he's going hot, do we take him out the game right now and let the bench finish the rest of the third and then bring Cade somewhere in like the 8-minute mark of the fourth quarter and then just let him continue to go bananas? Because that, to me, was one of the more kind of integral parts that played a role in the game that kind of went under the radar, was how they managed the minutes and the stamina of Tyrese Halliburton to be there at the end of the game. And what did he do? He hit a big layup, and he hit a big three, and he had a big assist down the stretch. And the Pistons defense looked like they were chasing ghosts towards the end of the game. And that's what wound up happening. They got worn down. Turner put a punishment on them, but they were able to sustain that. What they got to make sure they do is get the vets ready to play a full game. That to me was kind of more the crux of the matter. And then I feel like the wind got let out from underneath their sails at around that 6-minute mark. Tobias Harris, Cade Cunningham tossed on the ball. He got the and one. I still believe it was an and one. They went to coach's challenge, and they reversed that call. That took the lead away. The Pistons could have gone up by 2. They would have had the momentum. It took the lead away. It gave the ball to the Pacers, and the Pacers went down and took the lead and went up by 3. That, to me, at that moment in the game, they just didn't look right any other point in the game.
No, that was in hindsight, it was a backbreaker because we were all going crazy when that happened. It was a great pass by Cade. Tobias Harris, maybe he could have been a little bit more under control, but I agree with you. The call should have at least stood, and it should have been allowed to be an and one, and it wasn't. But yeah, after that, the wind was kind of taken out of the sails because at that time, the Pistons had a really elongated scoring drought, which really, that's what kind of was the story of the game. I mean, the fourth quarter, unfortunately, was the Pistons only scored 19 points, which is not good, and they allowed 33. And one of the things, too, and this is where I'm going to go back to Cade, where his teammates, I don't think, picked him up in the same way that Halliburton's did.
Right.
At the beginning of the fourth quarter, Cade was on the bench. And what happened when Cade was on the bench? You saw Benedict Mathurin and TJ McCollum absolutely rip apart the Pistons. I was sitting right next to you, KG, and UJB.
TJ McCollum is a notorious Pistons killer. Like in his career, if he shows up to play the Pistons, then all of a sudden just get prepared to be defending Allen Iverson.
But that's the thing. I counted 3 times, and it was confirmed when I looked at the box score, where TJ McCollum just drove basically unimpeded to the cup and just laid it in.
He had like 8-0 run, bro.
It was as if they were just kind of olaying him to the rim. And when I actually crunched the numbers, Benedict Mathurin and TJ McCollum, when Cade was out at the beginning of the fourth quarter, went on a 15-8 run, with them doing all of 15 versus what the Pistons did. And that was one of those moments during the game where it just kind of flipped because all the momentum was on the Pistons side. Cade ended the third quarter with a step-back 3. It was one of the most electric moments of that game.
Yeah, dapping up Tom Gores on the sideline and everything.
Maybe it was a bad omen that Ron Holland, what did he get, a running onto the court tech? And it started with a technical free throw
6-man on the court.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Eventually, the Pistons, as they get more experience, they are going to need to learn how to finish because they didn't finish last night. That's one of the last steps that a team usually needs to get to before they go from being a losing team to a winning team, and they didn't do it last night.
Yeah, I'm not as worried with that. I believe that the coaches could have better game managed the minutes because I don't have a problem with Cade having the ball in his hands the last 5 minutes of the game. If we go back to his rookie season, that's how they actually managed him. He had a high usage rate, but Cade was actually one of the top 5, top 10 players in the entire NBA as a rookie in clutch time and clutch point scoring. The years after that is where things got a little bit messy because his first year they had a player in Jeremy Grant. Sadiq Bey and Isaiah Stewart, and who were older than him, and they had a little bit more vets, Kelly Olynyk and some other guys on the squad who were able to help kind of carry the load. And then during down the stretch, we remember certain games like when he was going toe to toe with Kevin Durant in Brooklyn, which prompted him to say after the game, like, no, he's a game wrecker. But now all of a sudden, so much more has been dropped on his shoulders as the vets have not been as reliable over the last 2 or 3 seasons, which is why I'm saying Tobias, Tim Hardaway, and Malik Beasley, when the Pistons looked their best, it was when they were doing their thing.
So
that was in the first half. The third quarter, Cade looked great. They're going to fare much better in these end-of-game moments.
Oh, yeah. I think eventually the Pistons, I think they're going to take some lumps at the beginning of the year, but the schedule does ease up. And here's the thing. There's a lot of young guys like Cade Cunningham, like Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, of course, Ron Hollins of the world that, well, not Ron Holland because he's a rookie, but the other three most certainly have only known losing basketball.
Yeah.
But Tobias Harris has been a part of winning cultures. So has Malik Beasley, so has Tim Hardaway Jr., so has JB Bickerstaff, and so has the president of basketball operations, Trajan Langdon. Hopefully by the time the schedule lightens up a bit, that seeps in and this becomes more of a winning culture because as we said, they didn't really finish. I thought one of the things, and Chuck Brewer alluded to this earlier, is that I think one of the differences too between Tyrese Haliburton and Cade Cunningham last night is that Tyrese got really adequate help in the second half. We mentioned Miles Turner. Let's go back to Miles Turner because at the beginning of the third quarter, I was sitting next to JB and just watching Miles Turner destroy the Pistons on pretty much every possession.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of the third quarter, Tim Hardaway Jr. hits a 3 to give the Pistons a 12-point lead. On the next 6 possessions, here's how it goes for the Pacers. Miles Turner layup and 1. Miles Turner open 3. Miles Turner open 3. Siakam layup. Miles Turner open 3. Miles Turner open jump shot.
Jesus.
And to me, that's 14 points. That's 14 out of 16. That basically cuts a 12-point lead to a 5. And this is when Cade started to go off too. So those are some really big possessions by Indiana to counteract what Cade was doing. And to me, one of the things that I saw, which I don't think is troubling, it's just a next step in maybe Jalen Duren's development, is those stretch bigs. I'm not saying that he can't do it. I'm just saying that he struggled a bit defending Miles Turner, and he was left way too wide open. Because when I really looked, because I wasn't exactly sure about this, when you look at Miles Turner's numbers, when you look at just what you've seen him do, as his career has gone on, he has developed a very adequate three-point shot. He was 37% last year. He's not somebody that you can just leave open, and the Pistons unfortunately paid dearly.
And that was one of my biggest, improvements, areas of improvement for the Pistons coming into this season. It was their defense from the front court. I love Jalen Duren. I love where he can go. For a while, I was saying I love Isaiah Stewart, but I do believe when the Pistons are ready to take that next step, that he would be coming off the bench. That was something that a lot of people at the time, it was 2-3 years ago, thought I was absolutely crazy. I was doing the middle of the beef stew craze. And even with the Nick Claxton stuff, people were like, man, you ready to ship Jalen Duren out of here? No. What I'm saying is I want to see him take that type of a jump where you see the improvements from the defensive IQ, because I'm okay with them playing man-to-man defense, pick-and-roll defense, but obviously in this new NBA where you're going to be having to play the paint, help side defense as the tallest and the biggest player on your team, as well as make sure that you're now defending a Miles Turner who can – body you in the paint, pick and pop, or shoot from behind the arc. And that's where I do believe that's where one of the things with JB Bickerstaff, I'm looking keenly to see how he helps Jalen Duren improve in those areas, because he has the athleticism and he is a high IQ player. I do believe he'll figure it out, but I also want to make sure that I give credit to the Indiana Pacers, who were one of the best teams in the NBA last season. And they showed out in the playoffs. Last night we saw this Pistons team lose by 6 with some questionable calls, with some questionable plays at home by 6 to a team that was really, really good last year. And they got really good players. Like, I don't want to downplay who Turner is either.
Yeah, I was watching it. Like, we were all watching the game together last night. I mean, if you look back, you don't really see a place where we got beat glaringly. The Pacers shot 50% from the field, a little bit too high for my liking. I'd like to see us tighten up defensively. And I think the way they shot in the second half versus where they shot in the first half. I mean, they got a little hotter in the second half, and I mean that's part of the reason why they got beat. But we didn't really get beat as a team, you know, in many areas outside of the final score. They had 10 more assists than us, 32-22. And if you just look at a couple shots that like Tobias missed from the corner, that a couple other dudes just missed,
couple threes from Tobias.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
man.
like it's just.
He did not show
I mean,
up.
it's a close game, less than 10 points. It just simply came down to like us maybe having a little bit of tired legs underneath us late in the game, not closing out, allowing them to get better looks late in the game to play more efficiently offensively, and then just not knocking down enough shots offensively.
You know who changes the entire complexity of that game last night? Asar Thompson.
Changes
the entire. I was like, yo, there's
right.
Asar Thompson size hole here in terms of the usage rate, the defense. Remember the blocks, the rebounding. Another element as it relates to quick kind of pick and rolls, his mid range as it relates to he's a roller, he gets it in the mid-range, and then he's able to drive or put the back to the basket.
Yeah.
They were missing his defense as well, and I think that he would have made a difference, at least try and slow some of those drives by the Pacers in that fourth quarter.
Well, I mean, let's look at that fourth quarter. You could have you needed Asar Thompson like living creatures need water with the way that
4 years ago, I ran for prosecutor to keep our kids and our families safe, and we're making progress. Violent crime is down.
Insane in the fourth quarter, and honestly, there were a couple times, in particular one that's going to get memed into oblivion, where he took Jaden Ivey to school.
Yeah, he
Jaden
put
Ivey
him on the
still
floor.
has some defensive deficiencies. I'm not saying he can't clean that up. I'm not saying that getting got a couple of times isn't going to happen to everybody, but Benedict Mathurin he dominated that fourth quarter. He was one of the biggest differences in the game after being relatively quiet for most of the game, and that's the thing. That's the other example to me of Tyrese Halliburton. I get it. He made a clutch three at the end, and he danced, even though that was his 1-3 of the game versus 8 misses. But anywho, that's a neither here nor there.
It ain't like he just had a bad off game either. You got bodied, you got dominated, and you got worked. Kane Cunningham worked you, bro.
Yeah.
That's just what happened. Get out of here with all that dancing crap. Take your dub. You're the better team. You guys got your win. But get out of here with all of that bull. I'm just like, come on, how you gonna get worked and you dancing over 1-3?
Well, that's the thing, because I just gave you Benedict Mathurin scored 14 in the fourth quarter by himself. Miles Turner scored 14
and I was okay with him. I was okay with Benedict mouthing off. It was like, okay, my man is balling.
Right.
He was unbelievable in the fourth quarter.
Everything.
And we talk about Miles Turner at the beginning of the third. He scored 14 of a stretch where he scored 14 of 16 Pacer points in like 4 minutes. Those are, and TJ McConnell, I think I might have called him McCollum earlier, my bad, TJ, but TJ McConnell, he got to the rim whenever he wanted at the beginning of the third quarter. Those were the guys that picked you up, Tyrese Halliburton. And I'm not saying Tyrese Halliburton isn't a great player. He proved that last season, that he was a very deserving all-star. He was the engine of a team in the Pacers, which I believe some of us, myself included, may have underestimated a bit. They were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and they showed it at the end. But still, Tyrese Halliburton, I'm not saying you were terrible, but those slash lines were really terrible. And you did that stupid little dance when you hit that 1-3. That was a nice shot, but you got a lot of help. The help that Cade Cunningham did not get. No disrespect to Tobias Harris, because he may have been the best player on the team in the first half, but he missed a lot of threes down the stretch, which would have made a difference, that were wide open. And I keep saying, I get it that the call was a little bit questionable, but if you're Tobias Harris, I believe he had more time to be more under control and not commit that offensive foul. I get it that it was a questionable call, but given what else went on in the fourth quarter, it wasn't Tobias Harris's finest moment. But as I said, in the first half, he was great. He was playing really good defense as well. It's just down the stretch, this team they got outplayed badly in the fourth quarter.
They had to realistically, and I don't even know if they got outplayed. If Tobias hits 2 threes, the Pistons win this game.
That's true. The defense wasn't horrible in the second half.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was like the flow of the game. There's ebbs and flows to things, because then all of a sudden you're changing up your strategy if Tobias hits one of those threes and the Pistons are up 4. We don't know the way the ball bounces after that. Sure. And that's where I'm just like, you know what? That's where I'm really going to continue to put the onus on. If you're going to let Cade go ham and you're just going to say, we're not cutting the well off, we're going to just let it run, then when you do when you do need something in that fourth quarter, then the threes and those shots that were missed down the stretch, they have to be buckets. Tobias has to hit those shots.
Yeah.
That's it. Otherwise, you're going to have to say, man, Cade is cooking in this third quarter, but we know we need him down the stretch, so we're going to have to sit him for a very long time and then bring him back in with 8 minutes to go in the game, which I don't want to see that either.
Right.
So that's where it's vitally important for those vets to take that step up and make sure down the stretch that they're there for Cade.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, and I think you got to get a little more out of your bench as well. And Kool-Aid, I do agree. They were sorely missing Asar Thompson last night. But if you, like, really just look at what they did, I mean, Malik Beasley, he had a good game off the bench. He had about 14 points.
Most of that in the first half, too.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, in the second half, his shot just was not dropping. But you got to get more, man. I mean, Fontecchio, where was Simone Fontecchio? When you get Asar back, you're going to need either him or Ryan Holland to learn how to shoot, because if Malik Beasley is going to play starter minutes, then you need somebody else to provide a spark. Go ahead.
Keep going.
Yeah, but Isaiah Stewart, we didn't get a lot of him. I don't need him to go crazy by all means, but I do need him to hit open shots. Offensively, he just wasn't there. Like I said, Fontecchio, 0 points, man. 0 for 4 on the night. Ryan Holland, only 6 points, but 0 of 3 from the three-point range. So these are things that they have to work on. They need an extra spark off of the bench, especially if Malik Beasley is going to play for that long.
Well, isn't that what we were talking about with having Ivy be on the bench as well, too, to have that extra spark as well? Because KG, as you said, the bench did not show up at all. I mean, shout out to Malik Beasley for, being that spark off the bench, but you need someone else, because Fontecchio didn't show up. Ron Holland only is in single digits. I love his defense, but at the same time, you still need more shooters coming off the bench that is going to push this team, giving these starters some rest time. There needs to be someone else here, and I think that is coming where Asar needs to be here. Hopefully we get him back soon enough, but man, we need something else.
Because I assume that maybe he's the one that's starting last night personally, based on the trends, based on what the metrics say for the Pistons' best lineups of last season. I personally would have started Fontecchio with Cade.
I thought that was what was going to happen.
Fontecchio is not an ISO player. You bring him off the bench in a position where he has to ISO or create for himself or stand in the corner. That's not necessarily the best position to put Fontecchio. That's why I wanted him to start with Cade. They have a chemistry. They talk open.
The government tracking a woman's pregnancy is the most invasive idea possible. I was involved in areas of pro-life advocacy for more than 10 years. Project 2025 is not pro-life, it's pro-control of women.
The impetus for Element was just a recognition that my health was impacted by inadequate electrolytes.
Anywhere he wants on the court.
Yeah, and I got to ask you, Marcus Sasser only played 3 minutes last night. Do you think they're not going to use him as much this year? Because I feel like he would be a good guard that can give you that scoring spark off of the bench. I know his efficiency has to improve and his ball handling has to improve a little bit, but he can run the offense. So do you think that they're I wouldn't say giving up on Sasser, but do you think he'll have a lesser role this year?
I don't think they're giving up on him. It's just, since they drafted him, I've been screaming he's a combo guard, and they're trying to, based on size, height, and things of that nature, help him to be able to better play that point guard role to fit the system. Because if he can become a better facilitator, he becomes an even better player. Imagine how he can set up his ability to get the float game, the mid-range, and the three-point shot if teams know, you know what, he's a threat to also facilitate well too. But that's where I think last night they needed somebody who was more or less able to get the team in offense initiated, and that's where he kind of struggled last night in his limited minutes, and then defensively as well. Yeah, that's going to be what gets you on the court and keeps you on the court, is if you are out there defending. And I do want to play that JB Bickerstaff audio just before we wrap up this segment, and it's back-to-back clips. Questions. The first one is just on managing and setting the expectations. Because JB Bickerstaff has impressed me so far as a coach, and not just a coach. We talk about Sharon Moore and is he a program builder. JB Bickerstaff feels like a program builder. Trajan Langdon feels like a program builder. And then the second question was just, I wanted to be able to just get his comments on the debut of the rookie Ron Holland. He didn't necessarily score well, but I thought he had some good moments.
With the process, but again, I'm extremely proud of the way the guys competed and shared the game and where we're starting from.
With that process, how do you, especially early in the season, set or manage expectations for a young team that really wants to win?
By focusing on the process. We don't listen to what other people are saying or those types of things. Like, we know if we put the work in, the time in, this basketball team is going to continue to get better. And we're going to push people, and then we're going to have our moments. So our focus is on, the details and our preparation, the execution of what we're trying to do on both ends of the floor. And then we'll take what comes from there.
And can you just speak to the debut of rookie Ron Holland? It seemed like he got in there right away, and his energy could be felt in that game.
I mean, that's again, who Ron is. Like, he knows how to impact the game, in so many different ways. Like, he's not a one-dimensional guy. He's got no fear. He's relentless in his approach, and I just think like there's going to be a long career for him helping good basketball teams with that type of mentality, and then the development that he's going to have.
Man, to get basketball answers to basketball questions, I can tell you JB Bickerstaff, he's a coach's coach, man. He's a coach's coach, and that too, when we talk about what kind of makes me bullish about this team despite the loss is that JB Bickerstaff is a process guy, and that's what he talked about. He's a guy that has organization, process, film work, and he cares about correcting on mistakes and putting in the work to do that as well. So it was good to hear his answers last night. In response.
Yeah, and you saw hallmarks, especially in the first half, of a JB Bickerstaff coach team. And I just like to see the Pistons play a full game like they played in the first half, or hell, even for the first 3 quarters. But if there's one criticism I have of JB Bickerstaff, just last night in terms of game flow, and it's not the end of the world, it is game 1 out of 82, and we talked about it, you alluded to it, Simone Fontecchio. Last night, I don't think he was put in the best situations, which led him to him being by far the worst player on the court last night, both offensively and defensively. He was, and it wasn't all his fault, he was awful. But maybe in the next game, I wouldn't mind seeing Tim Hardaway Jr. coming off the bench. I'm obviously not Flannel Bickerstaff, but
I agree with that, and it's for me. It's because I believe he's better suited to get his own offense than Fontecchio. So bring him off the bench. And you know what else I saw from Tim Hardaway that people told me he didn't have? He was passing the ball. He was facilitating. He was taking his time. He was pump faking and taking that one dribble into the paint, drawing the defense in and then kicking it. That's what I saw of him. And you know what? That means to me, if he started last night, that's what JB Bickerstaff is seeing in practice as well. That type of stuff does work. And that's why I do believe maybe it'll work a little bit better with the bench. If Fontecchio works a little bit better with Cade in the starting lineup, give him a little bit more shooting. And Fontecchio is not just a outside guy. He will dunk on you as well.
Yes.
So, hey, you know what? That's the Pistons segment, at least for now. I want to get you guys' comments on the Pistons as well. Get those into the chat. I know we got to talk some Detroit Lions and Jameson Williams. I know he was facing 2-game suspension, but when does that actually begin? And
we don't
will
know.
it ever begin?
Still don't know.
Yes, and I've got some quotes from Mr. Dan Campbell about it as well, which I'm going to read. So, interesting situation that I thought we should touch on. But man, am I glad I allotted a lot of time for Pistons, because there was a lot to talk about. But speaking of Detroit teams, how about Woodward and Maine being your best way to kick off Lions coverage? Hey, Detroit, on game day, wake up with Woodward and Maine, your source for all.